What is up, team? Welcome back to another episode of the Red Storm Rapid Reaction Podcast. I am Cole Latshaw. Brother Sean back again, filling in for Pat, who has lost his voice after yelling at his team to not talking defensively. So we will be chatting it up about your number 22 ranked St. John's Red Storm upsetting the number 3rd ranked Uconn Huskies in Madison Square Garden. The Big East Championship still runs through Queens. We have Dan Hurley and UConn's number, 3 straight wins over UConn. Sean, what do you think about St. John's beating UConn 81-72 Friday night? Super Bowl weekend, all eyes on St. John's and Madison Square Garden. We come through in a big, big way. Zuby Ejiofor with an absolutely heroic double-double, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals. Sean, tell me what you thought about this game tonight.
Yeah, unreal win. First off, congrats to Coach. I think that's 99.03. Ties him with Rory Williams for 3rd place. Shout out to fellow super fan Michael Laka for helping me out with those stats. Yeah, an incredible win. I thought the fans came out in force, which was something we were concerned about going in. Like one of the really cool things that we saw as far as the fans were concerned, at one point Dylan Mitchell had 2 free throws. He airballed one, obviously slipped out of his hands. It's something that happens to basketball players. Like, that's a normal thing that happens. Would be a Super Bowl for a UConn fan, and they were cheering obviously really loud. He makes the next one, and St. John's fans were just as loud. I'm proud of the team. I'm proud of our fans that were there. It's a good win for everybody. I hope everybody kind of takes that home just as, as special as it should be considered, for sure.
Yeah, I think if I was going players of the game, I would go Zuby Ejiofor. I would go the fans, a sellout, 19,000 plus. John Fanta tweeted during the game that he thought it was about 70-30 St. John's to UConn fans. We know that UConn likes to think that they take over Madison Square Garden. But most importantly, besides just the turnout and the amount of red that was in that stadium, they were also incredibly loud all game long, which I thought was incredible. So kudos to them. Maybe number 3 on my list of players of the game might be the Zebras in black and white, giving us nearly 20 more free throws. But we won't talk about that, and I will not complain about referees when it's on our favor. But I think we've talked a lot recently, me and Pat, about the Triple Towers lineup. Obviously, there's a winning streak now, 9 games long. Rick has really leaned into playing Dylan Mitchell starting minutes. Obviously, tonight you had Dylan playing 35, Zuby playing 35, Bryce Hopkins playing 31. And when leaning into that Triple Towers lineup, what we've really seen is St. John's limit their opponents' offensive rebounds, only 6 tonight for UConn. And obviously, when you got a pest like Dylan Mitchell jumping passing lanes, they're forcing turnovers. 15 turnovers by UConn tonight, 9 by Silas Demery. When your starting point guard has 9 turnovers, you're not going to win a ton of games. I thought he played an incredibly good game outside of that. 18 points, I think 7 rebounds, was just blowing by Dylan Darling, who had an incredible game in his own right, but was struggling tremendously with a super athletic guard like Silas Demery. Not anytime your starting point guard has 9 turnovers, you're not going to win a lot of games. But what do you think about the performances of Dylan Mitchell and Bryce Hopkins? We've obviously already mentioned Zuby's performance.
Yeah, in the preview coming into the game on the last video, we I think, to your credit, you talked about how Dylan Mitchell getting to the rim might be a problem for them. They had no answer for him. They had no good matchup for him. He kind of got to the rim at will. He finished very well. I mean, couldn't be prouder of Dylan Mitchell in the game that he played. Silas Demery, like he was able to drive the ball, and for some reason in the first half we were like not switching and not like defending the rim with him. He got a couple of like wide open layups, but the proof is in the pudding. The reason why we weren't doing that, we were kind of forcing him into turnovers. I think obviously ultimately, we kind of won out in that regard. I thought Dylan Darling played well. I think he had a hard time defending at points, but at the same time, like he had some clutch shots, some really awesome plays down the line, and I think that ended up being the difference in the end was we had answers for all their runs, and they shot the ball well from three, but we were still able to kind of sustain the tide and pull out a W.
Yeah, Rick added to his comment about Dylan Darling's church bell sized balls as that they are growing and growing in his post game press conference.
You might
Dylan
want to get that
Darling,
checked out, by the way.
9 points, 2 assists, 0 turnovers, 1 steal for Dylan Darling. I thought, like you said, he had some very, very, very timely buckets. That one sort of like fading, hanging jump shot in the lane over Demery's outstretched arms was incredibly impressive at a time when Uconn was really making a run. Super timely buckets. I think we'd also be remiss if we didn't talk about Bryce Hopkins, 14 and 6. Struggled from the line, but made some big stops, had some big rebounds at different points. I thought Bryce played well. We touched on the free throw discrepancy. Thank you very much, Zebras. But 22 for 31 for St. John's versus only 12 attempts for Uconn, who shot incredibly poorly, 5 of 12 from the line. Got some, I think it was the wacky, wavy, inflatable arm flailing tube men that threw them. They couldn't make any shots with that going on in the back. I don't know, man. Like, it's incredibly exciting. Obviously, I think our fan base was right to criticize the out of conference performance. We had a lot of key resume building opportunity wins. Obviously, you think back to the Iowa State game that we left on the table. You come into Big East play with a very, very down Big East, and you struggle to see like, well, where are you really going to get a huge resume building win? I think we can handle it, the Big East schedule, well enough to where, you're going to be a 6 seed, a 7 seed or something like that. But are you really going to get a huge resume boosting win, meaning really just wins over Uconn? Now you have that. Now you have something you can build on. I think there's a clear path now to a protected seed. You can, as long as you continue taking care of business, clearly starts next with Xavier on Monday. But you keep handling business. Now you've got that resume win on your, in your back pocket, and you still got another one in stores. So, I think it's just absolutely amazing performance. So cool to see that atmosphere at Madison Square Garden. So cool, like I said, on Super Bowl weekend on Friday with absolutely nothing else going on in the sporting world today.
Yeah, it's and so much of it is the eye test, right? Like, like UConn was coming in with 1 loss on the entire season, and they came in there and we didn't just like step up with them. We literally like handled them, like pretty much, like and that has to count for something, when it comes down to seeding and stuff like that. Obviously, it's so important, but this team has proven that like they're ready to go when March comes. And we're getting there right now, and I think they're playing the way Rick really wants them to play, and the proof is in the pudding. I mean, beating a team like this is obviously a top 5 team, and we kind of pushed them to their limits and proved that we were the cream of the crop there. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see it as far as seeding is concerned and everything like that. But I'm also just confident in Rick. I'm confident in what he's got ready for teams that might be more ranked than us and stuff like that. And it's an exciting time to be a St. John's fan.
Yeah, I think, it's funny thinking back to what we talked about on the last podcast and sort of our projections for this game of it really being a contrasting styles of, we had the guard heavy lineup of Uconn and that fact that they were going to be hunting 3-pointers and how we needed to defend that, and contrasting that against how would Uconn possibly match up against the Triple Towers? And I think ultimately the answer was neither team did either. We did not defend the 3-point well at all, them shooting 9 for 19. And they had absolutely no answer for the length and athleticism of us on the other end. I mean, between the 3 guys, you have the 3 guys combined for doing fast math here. 21, 15, and 14. I mean, just absolutely feasting 50 points. Like that's incredible production. Sorry, like also how many freaking rebounds? I mean, 22 rebounds between the three of them. I mean, that's an absolutely heroic performance from those three guys. And there had absolutely no answer on the Uconn end for that size. Terrace Reed was able to hang with Zuby for a little bit. I frankly didn't really like that showing off that he did with Dylan Mitchell, trying to claim that he was too small. I'm not really quite sure how that's not taunting and how he doesn't get a technical foul for that. But it's I ultimately all that matters is who gets the dub in the end, and St. John's came out on the right end of that one.
Yeah, so first point, the Terrace Reed thing, like, buddy, pick your spots. Like, if you're gonna sit there and say, like, first off, that shot that he's like taunting him on was well defended. Like, he just did like some kind of like, yeah, he lost like a little baby hook and it kind of went in. It's like, buddy, like Dylan Mitchell cooked you all night. Like I don't know, that goes back to the Uconn not being a real fan favorite for most folks, but that's neither here nor there. I think that the thing that's misleading about the stats, like, yeah, they shot the ball well from three, but we ran them off of so many 3-pointers. We were defending really well. They made a couple like contests, especially Braylon Mullins made a couple really well contested 3-pointers, which is great. I mean, like, listen, like the best you can do is kind of defend that 3-point line well. I thought they did that all night. Especially a team that's as talented as Uconn is, like they're going to make some of them. There were so many 3-pointers that they could have had that we ran them off of. So I think, that kind of all like added up into St. John's getting the W.
I was in real time just checking for any additional post-game comments of note, and Rick might be looking at it at a little more rose-colored glasses than John Fanta, but he said he thought it was more 90-10 St. John's fans. So again,
I don't know. I don't know. Just listening on TV, I don't know if it was that close, but
so tip of the cap to again to the St. John's fans that showed up and that were incredibly loud. That came through very, very nicely on the broadcast.
Yeah, on the broadcast.
So yeah, I mean, next game Xavier on Monday. Little Richard is in for another world of hurt. Hopefully, Rick then will pass Roy Williams on the coaching wins list, and he will then have only 96 remaining wins to go till 1,000. So he's just got a few more years left with St. John's. Sean, anything else as we wrap up the Uconn rapid reaction and we look forward to Xavier on Monday?
No, I thought the boys played well. I'm really excited about, like, it seems that everybody's very well bought in. It seems like everybody's playing Rick's style. I think we got a squad now, harkening back to like last year where everybody's kind of bought in. And I think the main point is looking at Zuby, how animated he was in the huddles when they would show it on the broadcast and stuff like that. Like, Zuby refuses to let this team be soft.
It's the definition of a captain.
I know he is the captain, and he's the guy, and he's gonna lead us. And I don't envision this team not being successful with Zuby at the helm.
I saw Zuby's dad, his dad in the United States, posted a really cool tweet of a very, very young Zuby and him. And he said, who would have thought this little kid would grow up to be the face of St. John's basketball? And I couldn't agree with that statement more. He is the heart, the face. He is everything for us over the last 3 years. And it's going to be a sad, sad day when he plays his last game wearing the red and white. But we got a lot of fun left before he wraps up his St. John's career. So enjoy every second of it. I see a lot more double doubles in his future as we ride out the rest of the season. Sean, we look forward to Xavier. We appreciate you filling in. Coach Pat is wrapping up his high school basketball season, so he'll be back soon. But we're just trying to get you guys some content in the meantime. So, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your folks. More listeners, the better. For R.J. Lewis Jr. I'm Cole Atshaw. That's brother Sean. Talk to you next time. Peace.